welcome to today's webinar. We are very extremely sorry for our delay in starting the webinar today because the India Tourism Guwahati office had some problem with logging in. So today we are on the third session of the 8-part webinar series on Dekho Apna Desh of India Tourism Northeast. Today we have a very interesting topic, that is the story of chai and tea tourism in Assam, which has a lot of importance post-COVID. And today's our keynote speaker is Mr. Manoj Jalan, who is tea enthusiastic and has a lot of passion for tea tourism. I would now request our Regional Director, India Tourism Northeast, Mr. S.S. Dev Burman, to please give the opening remarks. Sir, you have to unmute.
Unmute. Now, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much to everybody for waiting. I'm extremely sorry because due to some other prefixed things, I was not able to able myself over here. Now, anyway, it is now time to full-fledgedly participate in the very interesting topics. Friends, so as you know that Assam tea, which has a rich history of satisfying its world admirers with its unique taste and flavor, has a rich heritage too, which can equally satisfy the tourist community, whether domestic or international. Sorry. Assam tea and the tea estates of Assam have many tourism aspects which the world community has already started to witness and cherish. Tea gardens of Assam with a lush greenery, the so-called green carpet with a rows and rows of shade trees, the tea estate bungalows standing as a relics of British colonial heritage. The 10 ethnic people with their distinct rhythmic music and dance carry potentials to attract the both domestic and international tourist interest and can present a magnificent revenue opportunity to the state. Historically, Assam is the second commercial tea production region in the world after southern China. Assam, along with southern China, is the only region in the world with a native tea plants, and Assam is the only region in the world where tea is grown in plains. That means TBI in abbreviations. There is evidence of tea cultivation in Assam even before Major Robert Bruce is regarded to have discovered wild tea bushes in Assam forest in 1823. In 1823, notable Assamese Moniram Dewan, listening to the Robert Bruce discussions, he was discussing Chinese tea with a group of English merchants in Calcutta, approached and informed him that such a plant is cultivated in Assam by Singpho tribe. Moniram put Bruce in touch of Bisagam, a Singpho chief with whom Bruce came in agreement to supply the plant and its seed against money. Later in 1834, Bruce's brother Charles Bruce got it confirmed that the leaves that the Singpho tribe brewed and drank in a different variety of tea and tasted almost like Chinese tea when dried. So Assam variety of tea, which has referred to as Assam tea, is unique due to its body, briskness, malty flavor, and strong bright color. Assam tea and blends containing Assam tea are often sold as breakfast tea. Assam alone produces 16% of the total world productions, which contribute to 54% of Indian tea production. Assam has 830 big tea estate with 529 tea estate factories, mostly producing black tea. Assam tea is identified with the logo depicting one-horned rhinoceros. Assam Orthodox tea is now a registered GI, that means geographical indications. Tea tourism is such a wonderful and recreational commercial organizations that can satisfy the taste of tourist interest. Tea tourism provides tourists the opportunity to avail all information and experience related to tea. Tourists can spend time amidst natural beauty of tea gardens, enjoy nature walk and trekking, rafting, and golf are also to be found. Tourists stay at luxurious tea bungalows ensconced in the best of comfort. They can enjoy interacting with the tea gardens workers, partake in tea leaf plucking, and participating in cultural festivals. Tea tourism has emerged as a very recent niche in the world tourism scenario. It has parallels with the food-related tourism, such as the wine tourism, as it happens in European countries like France, which has enjoyed a wide reclaim and investigations by many researchers. Tea tourism in India, like in China, Sri Lanka, Kenya, Malaysia, and Taiwan, is catching fast on popularity. Recently, an increasing number of tourists are rushing to the lush green tea estate of Darjeeling, the Nilgiris, and Assam. So there are various ways and areas where the tea tourist can flourish with a great extent. Some of these ways are bungalow culture. Tea estate bungalows of Assam carry a rich heritage, being the relics of British colonial era. The bungalow culture that the planter created in Assam in 19th century has its unique identity. The bungalow Assam tea gardens have a signature style, which is a raised wooden platform, spacious surrounding verandas, a low house having 1 or 2 stories, a fireplace with a visible chimneys, a spacious and yard with arrays of flowers, plants, and trees located in the midst of the natural surroundings. The planters, most of whom were English, Scottish, and Irish in those days, tried to create a small world of their own dreams using local architecture and materials. Some of these type of bungalows are like Kunlal Tea Estate Bungalow, Thengal Manor in Jorhat, Mistri Saheb's Bungalow of Gotunga Tea Estate, Sangsua Tea Estates of
Sir, you unmuted yourself. So you have to unmute yourself. You muted yourself.
How it happened, I don't know. So, okay. Well, these are the heritage bungalows are one of the major attraction of the tea tourism. Then there is a now new dimension in tea tourism things like organic tea estate. Organic tea estate or organic tea has recently become a matter of concern to the health conscious community of the world. From last few years, many planters of Assam have started practicing organic method of tea cultivations and productions. Health conscious tourists from across the globe have started to visit this plantation site to see the manufacturing procedures personally and interact with the planters, adding a new chapter to the tea tourism of the region. And few names can be taken in this regard, like Singphu tea, Madhupur village tea, etc. Then there is another dimension of tea tourism or tea industry. These are the research center like a Toklai Tea Research Center is a very important and famous tea research center in the country. Then tea tribe culture is another very important aspect of the tea tourism. As you know that the tea tribes of Assams are an admixture of various communities transported from the various places of Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Chotanagpur. So that migrated labor develop their own cultural identity and entity. So their enjoying culture is also a kind of the big attraction for the tea tourism. So tourism, tea tourism has occupied a significant position in the economy of a country of a present era as an industry, earning foreign currency and strengthening national economy. Development of tea tourism in Assam, besides sustaining the environment and preserving the heritage and culture, will benefit the state by creating employment opportunities. This is very important. And boosting rural economy also. And thereby alleviate the insurgency and other socio-economic problem. Now, in the post-COVID time, if the tea tourism is highlighted with proper planning and proper prospects, it can help the government to earn much revenue and also create a new shape of the state, like Assam, in the map of the world of tourism sector. So I just spoken about the tea tourism in a nutshell. The resource persons will be elaborating and explain the matter much more extended way. So creating and making on organizing such a interesting topic, I once again giving my big thanks to the organizer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was a good introduction. I would now like to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Manoj Jalan, who is a pioneer of tea tourism in Assam. A third generation tea planter, Mr. Jalan is the director of Jalan Tea Group. He founded Purvi Discovery, a travel company with the aim of promoting tea tourism in Assam. He is also the founder member of the Equestrian Federation of Assam and former vice president of the Equestrian Federation of India. A board member of the Center of Management Studies, Dibrugarh University. With this word, I would request Mr. Manoj Jalan to speak a few words on tea tourism and give the introduction. So, Mr. Manoj Jalan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Sudarshan Khound. And first of all, let me thank you and the organizers for inviting me to this event on tea tourism, which I think is a very interesting subject for Northeast tourism in general and Assam tourism in particular. So thank you once again. Our Director Tourism Northeast has already given quite a lot of facts on tea, and actually I was quite impressed with the kind of detailed presentation of his on giving the various statistics, what percentage is grown where, and
I'm a layman only. I'm a layman. Now I'll learn from you.
Sound like a layman. I think it's a very a lot of facts and insights have already been given by him. Now, I think tea tourism is, is a lot discussed subject, but somehow I feel we've not been able to, do much on tea tourism as a product. I mean, although we started it, we are passionate about it, we are at it even now. A lot of work has been done, but I really think that tea tourism could be has a potential of being an iconic tourism event, tourism product of Northeast, Why Northeast? For India and definitely for Assam. We started this idea of tea tourism somewhere. Now it's been quite a long time. I mean, we started sometime in 1999, 2000. Actually, 2003 we started with tea tourism. Before that, we were doing water sports, and we were dabbling with uh, adventure tourism when we set up Rukmini Island. And it was 2003 that we first started with inbound tourism and heritage tea tourism with Mankota. And my wife actually she took on the role of the operational management and drove the business with her very efficient team. And my friend Ranjit was here that time, Ranjit Das. So three of us actually got together and started this venture on tea tourism. Now it's almost 2 decades. Uh, so we've come a long way, and we had a lot of support. I must say that state government, people, because India has been slow in tourism, and many a times tourism has been mixed up with elitist activities and stuff like that. It's only now that tourism is being understood as a engine of economic growth and all that. Earlier on, it was not quite like that. I mean, tourism, for that matter, even sports, these were activities which were looked upon as elitist activities and really didn't have that kind of support. But I must say, in the last 2 decades, the situation has changed quite a lot. And we had a lot of support, overwhelming support, as a matter of fact, which was evident the moment we started with the Rukmini Island tea tourism. And so we started off with a very, very small trickle of inbounds in 2003. And by now, I mean, definitely, I mean, I will not say we are big or we churn in large numbers, but by now we've been able to establish, we put a small dot in the map of international tourism. We are working with some large tourism players worldwide, and it's in a part of the international tour itinerary. So that's where we've come so far, broadly speaking. I do feel that a lot more needs to be done, considering the potential that Assam has, or the Northeast India has, for tourism, and what we've been able to do. I think we've not been able to do justice to the potential that exists. Uh, the last 5 to 10 years have seen a spurt of tourism growth in Northeast, which was very good. And it's very unfortunate that we got hit by COVID at a time when tourism was just about picking up and just about starting to take off in Northeast. So this has really been a big setback. And people don't realize the kind of losses, the kind of difficulties that people are facing because of tourism shutdown. Individually, tourism are maybe smaller employers. We don't have, we don't employ people in clusters like tea plantations or automobile or railways. But collectively, I think there's a huge employment in tourism. And I think we are very badly hit by COVID, and we need to now see how it unfolds and how we can get people to get their confidence back to travel. I think these will be the challenges for the future. So let's see how the future unfolds. I mean, things are very uncertain at the moment. So I think those are some of my thoughts, Sudarshan, for the.
Sure. Okay. So what we are doing is this session, we're doing more of an interactive session. So where we will be asking a few questions to Mr. Jalan on tea and tourism. And before the questions start, I would like to show a small presentation on the tea bungalows of Assam. So this is just a short, because we don't have too many touch time. So we just have a short presentation on the tea bungalows, different bungalows in Assam and where they are located. We'll give a brief idea about all the operators who are present today of all the bungalows we have in Assam. So we start with the Mankota Heritage Tea Chung Bungalow. This is more than 100 years old bungalow located in Dibrugarh, which is a very beautiful bungalow. It's one of the most beautiful bungalows. It is a Chang bungalow. Chang bungalows are bungalows which is, you can see it's on stilts. So this is a very interesting fact. And people from abroad or even in India, when they come and stay in this bungalow, they love this place. So this is a guest room inside the bungalow. So you can see how clean and nice these facilities are. So post-COVID, these places are worth promoting. This is another photo of the interior of the bungalow, of the guest room. This is the Wathai Heritage Bungalow. This is located in Tinsukia, which is very close to the Dibru-Soikhowa National Park. So for operators who are wants to promote Dibru-Soikhowa National Park, so this is a very nice location where people can enjoy a tea garden stay. This is another photo of the guest room. This is the Kaziranga Golf Resort in Jorhat. This is an 18-hole private golf resort in Jorhat. And this is a wonderful place located amidst a tea garden. So you can see the golf course is in between the tea garden. So one can enjoy a good golf session here staying in this bungalow. This is another property, the Banyan Grove in Jorhat. This is also a very old bungalow converted for tourists now. The main highlight of this bungalow is that there is a big banyan tree just in the entrance of the bungalow, which makes the name Banyan Grove. And you can see the dining hall, which is very nice with a fireplace and all. This is another tea bungalow. This is the Wild Mashe in Balipara, near Tejpur. So Namir National Park is about more than an hour from this bungalow. So people staying in this bungalow can also visit Namiri National Park, and it's on the way to Arunachal. So this is also a room inside the bungalow. This is a new property which has come up in Moriani. This is called the Holok Heritage, and this is very near to the Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, which is famous for the Holok gibbons. There was no accommodation in that area. This is a property promoted in that area. This is a view of the property. This is the Koliabor Manor. This is in Koliabor in near Kaziranga National Park. So somebody staying here can visit this place not very far from the Western Range and the Burapaha Range of Kaziranga National Park. So somebody can stay here and go to Kaziranga and enjoy these two ranges. This bungalow is also very close to the river Brahmaputra, so they have even made an infinity pool with the view of Brahmaputra. And they have cottages and traditional the heritage bungalow. This is the Chameli Mehta bungalow in Jorhat. This is also a very old bungalow converted for tourists now. A very important film was shot here, which was called as Chameli Mehta, and so bungalow also got its name. And somebody interested in horror stories, it is said that this bungalow is sometimes haunted, but none of our tourists have had any such encounter. So this is the interior of the bungalow. This is another one in Jorhat called the Puroni Bheti. This is also inside tea garden. This is new construction, and they have a big area where you can organize lunches and dinners for your guests. This is a new property which is coming up in Sonajuli. 21, and this is on the way to Arunachal, on the way to Itanagar, bordering Arunachal and Assam. So you can see the hills of Arunachal from here. So when this comes up, so this will be also a place you can promote for your tourists. So this was a short presentation on some of the bungalows that are there in Assam. So I would like ask a few questions. I would like to ask a few questions to Mr. Jalan, because he's a very experienced person. So like and he can tell us more about tea and tourism. We have, like, everybody is drinking tea, and everybody needs a morning cup of tea, but most of us don't know the history of tea in India. So can you please enlighten us on the history of tea in India?
Thank you, Sudarshan. I think you had a nice presentation, and it's good to see some new properties which have come up in the circuit. And so that's very good news. And thank you for sharing that with everybody. See, on the history of tea in Assam is very interesting. It was around 1823 that, you know, the Singpho chief in Upper Assam area, first kind of discovered tea in the true sense. That was the first discovery of tea. From that, it passed on to this British army major, Robert Bruce. Now, Robert Bruce, that was around 1823. Then Robert Bruce did nothing much. Then his brother came in between, Charles Alexander Bruce. And all that took about 10 years. Then sometime around 1834, under then Governor General Lord Bentinck, they formed a tea committee consisting of 12 members. And what happened after that is very interesting. See, this whole activity started around 1833, 1834. And by 1838, 1839, the London Tea Auction was already established. So it moved the setting up of the tea industry, considering the remoteness, the difficult terrain and everything of that time, jungles, things happened very fast. Then we had, another very prominent name in tea industry that time is Maniram Diwan. He's the first indigenous planter. Everybody knows about him. So these are some interesting dots in the history of tea. And it moved very fast. And in the next 20, 30 years, large number of plantations came up. Of course, the first one happens to be Assam Company, which was established by 1839 or so. It was already established, the first tea company. Maybe one of the first companies to be listed in India after East India Company. So that kind of set the tea industry going. 1839, we started, tea started auctioning in London. And then 1970, we got the Guwahati Auction Center. So in 10 years, you had London Auction Center, and then it took a long time, as you say, 150 years, we got the Guwahati Tea Auction Center. And more, and to add to that, we had the Jorhat Auction Center, which is on a different platform this year, on the 21st of May, which is also happens to be the International Tea Day. So there's another platform which was inaugurated this year in the middle of COVID and pandemic, which runs on a modern idea of electronic auctions and stuff like that. So that's roughly how the tea industry has moved in the last more than 150 years plus.
Thank you. That's good. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Now, a little bit, yes. Okay.
When we go abroad or anywhere in India, the first thing people ask is, where are you from? And we say Assam. And then they say first thing is that Assam and then tea. So Assam is so much related to tea. And so what do you think, that what makes Assam tea so famous?
Well, You know, when we were in UK once, uh, it was very interesting. We met a few people in an event who thought Assam is a brand of English tea. They know that they didn't know that there's a, it comes from a place called Assam. So that's how poor we are in promoting our own tea. So having said that, I mean, Assam tea is really unique in more than one ways. First of all, as in the opening remarks, as Director Tourism mentioned, he spoke briefly about different types of tea. So from the cultivar itself, from the tea plant itself, broadly there are three types. Uh, you have the Chinese variety, then you have the Kambod variety, and then you have the Assam variety. So all of them come from the same family of Camellia, and in Assam we have an indigenous variety called the Camellia assamica. So I mean the plant itself is unique. And if you go to Jaipur, I happened to be there a few years ago in the Jaipur forest. Even today you can see tea growing wild. They're in front, and you don't have to go really deep inside. You can see it almost from the roadside. That wild tea plants are growing. But the unique thing about Assam tea is that it has a very unique taste. It has a cup quality which is different from the uh, rest of the tea growing areas, which gives it a unique character. Broadly speaking, tea can be divided into two different types of growing area. One is the high elevation, which is Darjeeling, Nilgiris, and elsewhere, and then the valley or the plains. So if you come to the plains, I think the Assam tea has a very unique strength, character, cup quality, which makes it a unique beverage.
That's very interesting to know. I think everybody would be very enlightened to know that. Also, like you came from tea to tourism, but so what made you change some of your tea bungalows to tourism, like for tourists to stay in?
Uh, you see, this is very interesting. See, first of all, having lived all my life, being born in Dibrugarh and in a tea plantation, uh, I all the time we believe that Upper Assam has a most unique landscape in terms of natural heritage, in terms of cultural heritage, accessibility to the mighty Brahmaputra, which is clean and wide and very very interesting. So having grown up in this landscape, and we found that there is hardly any activity by way of tourism. So we always felt that then something needs to be done, but we never quite got to doing it. So until we met, by chance, I was a part of a delegation to Kunming. That was the first Look East initiative. And Dr. Jayanto Madhav, who was the NETFI chairman, he was the delegation leader from Assam. The whole delegation was led by then BG Varghese, and there was a big Northeast group. And from Assam, I was one of them. And I happened to meet him in Kunming. We were together for 5-6 days for this Look East initiative. And Dr. Jayanto Madhav, he was a person who actually, got us to get into action. He, encouraged us. He said, "No, let us put the ideas together. And you have, Assam has got good tourism potential. And if you guys don't do it, who'll do it?" and stuff like that. So he really pushed us. And this was also, Purvi Discovery was the first tourism project of NETFI, and that got us going. So I think had that meeting not taken place, perhaps we would have not ventured. We all like tourism. We thought everything should be done, etc., etc. But actually, it was Dr. Jayanto Madhav's initiative who pushed us into tourism, and and then we started setting a company and put a structure in place, etc., etc. But that really got us going.
That's great. So post COVID.
Sudarshan, Sudarshan, I just want to ask a few questions to Jalanji. Am I allowed?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Can I ask Jalanji some questions?
Yes, please.
Jalanji, first of all, I don't know whether it should be interpreted as a questions or not. Just a few, rather, I want to say it's a query. First is that I need your suggestions how to develop the tea tourism in Assam as well as other part of Northeast. Second, other than Assam, there are a few more states also in Northeast like Meghalaya and Tripura. Especially Tripura is having a flourishing tea industry. Then quality of Tripura tea also very good, excellent. You might be knowing very well. So how actually the tea tourism in Northeast also can be promoted? Then what do you think about the tea tourism prospects like Assam in Tripura also? Because I am basically from Tripura. So these three questions I'm very curious to know from you. I just want to enlighten myself from you.
I think tea tourism, to put it in perspective, I think tea tourism has, as a generic tourism product, has a good potential, because tea is unique to Northeast, tea is unique to India. It cannot be grown anywhere and everywhere, although, you know, technically speaking, a lot of tea growing areas exist in the world, but somehow what makes Northeast interesting for tea tourism is we have and see, this is something which we need to understand, because when we started tourism and we started meeting the travel trade and we spoke that we are from Assam and Northeast and stuff like that, people were generally talking about, you know, sending us in the direction of adventure tour operators and things like that. So, which then, you know, which I think is a completely misplaced idea. I think Assam, and I can talk with a lot of confidence now, having worked in this business, in this industry for a while, I think Assam is a great tourism, it is a great cultural destination. And the tea tourism can thrive and grow essentially because we are in the heart of this cultural destination. And I think that is what makes this, you know, the tea tourism a very interesting idea and a very interesting product. However, I think we need to do a few things to build up the tea tourism idea. And I think some of these ideas, maybe Sudarshan will also be discussing with us. And I will broadly speaking, while I'll come to all that in the course of our conversation, I think broadly speaking, where we have not been able to you know, do much is in the field of promotion. You know, much of our Northeast tourism promotion has been just visuals. You know, it does not address the key travel experiences. I think when we see a visual, people must feel like traveling. People must feel it must signal, you know, immediately signal interest to travel, interest to be in that place. So I think we need to capture the essence of the product and put it in a communication, and put it in, and our presentations, our communications have to be, you know, I think a lot different from what we've been doing now, because we spend a lot of money and we have not been able to imaginatively capture the traveler's imagination, that, you know, a person who wants to travel, he has a whole world to choose from. So why should he travel to Assam? Why should he travel to tea bungalows? So I think if I were to put one big area that the government should work on, I think government needs to work on destination promotion. And destination promotion is something that is central to building up a product. You see, 20 years ago when we started, there was very little on the ground. Now you have a large number of tour operators. You have a lot of people. Yes, Sudarshan, you want?
Like post-COVID, like most of the people, they would not like to be staying in big hotels, but small boutique properties. So you feel like now tea plantation bungalows have more opportunities, or like they have more people going who will be staying in them?
Now, I think post-COVID tea tourism is a great idea, is a great idea for more than one reason. Uh, you see, the problem in COVID is one needs to see COVID, human beings carry the virus and it spreads on a human to human contact. So more people means more, the level of alertness has to be uh, the level of alert, the higher the number of people, the higher the risk and the level of alertness and stuff like that. So tea tourism, by the nature of its, the way the properties are placed and the way the properties are located with small room inventory, uh, outdoor activities in the plantation, and of course, the layout of the bungalows itself, it is not a five-star hotel which is centrally air conditioned where you cannot open the windows. Bungalows have big verandas, you have open spaces to sit out. So this distance is not an issue. I think it should emerge as a good destination. Of course, a lot of it will depend upon how we can promote it. We need some sort of a tagline like safer than home. We need to really, we need to, you see, it's like this. If you go to Switzerland, as a not now COVID time, even otherwise, we feel that countries like Singapore, many other countries are safe places to go. You can go anywhere, you can eat anything, you never think twice, because of the perception that has been built over the years. So I think we need to also promote, safe travel, safe accommodation, and something like safer than home kind of a message should be going.
That's great. And also our two operator friends, I think they would also like to know what are the general activities in a tea plantation stay, like what they do in a stay like that when you stay in a
Uh,
tea plantation.
you see, the tea garden activities actually depends on the location of the garden. That's that will a lot. Some of it will definitely depend upon the location of the plantation. Because the tea gardens are in hills, in plains, in Darjeeling, in Assam. But in the Assam context, in Assam also, you see some plantations which are co-located with a forest area. So location will make a big difference. Having said that, I think one of the highlight of the tea tourism continues to be the accommodation, the colonial experience of living in a tea bungalow. The manufacturing, how tea is manufactured, how tea is produced. Many people, everybody drinks tea, nobody has a clue. Many people who come from outside don't know how tea is produced. Tea tasting we have found to be a very engaging experience. Different types of tea, how do you taste tea, how do you evaluate teas. Then of course, we do things like tea walks. Then bird watching is a very interesting activity that can be done in tea gardens, and depending again from location to location of the estate, some estates have provide very good bird watching opportunities, bicycle tours. So these are some of the things that we are doing in tea gardens, and pretty engaging, and we find that the level of satisfaction is quite high with the guests.
Upper Assam has some of the best tea bungalows for tourists. What other activities apart from the mentioned you have mentioned?
Uh, Sudarshan, I think Upper Assam, to put it frankly, is a complete tourism destination. I have no doubt in my mind. It is grossly underpromoted. It has a huge potential, and I think I have no doubt in my mind that it is a complete tourism destination. You have airports, 2 or 3 airports in 3-4 hours driving time with connecting, which is connects you to Calcutta, Delhi. So it has wonderful connectivity. Having said that, now look at the variety. You have wildlife, Dibrusaikhor National Park, Jaipur. Then you have this, we have a large number of these fragmented uh, reserve forests like Jokai, then Padumini. You may not find to go and find a Royal Bengal tiger there, but they are good walks. They have their note. They have their own sense of place, and provides a good, fulfilling experience to the guest. So you have wildlife and nature, very big draw. Then we have these, large number of ethnic communities. Uh, from Mishing villages are there, Namphake, so many of them, and Deori villages are there. So many different types of villages are there, each with their ethnic food, cultural activities. So that itself is quite a solid itinerary that we are doing. We are already doing all these things, and so these are there. But a lot more can be done. For instance, you can have an ethnic food festival built around Upper Assam that can become a calendar event and things like that. You have Brahmaputra, whole lot of activities can be done there: kayaking, boat cruise, parasailing, and then you have, military history, the Second World War, uh, which is the Stilwell Road. Very interesting. Uh, you have those abandoned airstrips like the Lido airstrips, all a part of the Second World War. So if you really look at the variety of tourism attractions that we have, or tourism assets that we have, I have no doubt in my mind that it is a complete destination, and it has a huge potential to give employment and really emerge as a one of the major economic activities.
Yeah, that'll be great. I think we can also incorporate a little bit of Arunachal also in our itinerary.
Yes, of course. I mean, Eastern Arunachal now with the bridges coming up, Eastern Arunachal is unique, is absolutely stunning. There is no doubt about it. And Upper Assam provides accessibility to Eastern Arunachal. The tea growing areas, many of them are very, very close to Eastern Arunachal. So I think Eastern Arunachal you cannot ignore. You are absolutely right. Eastern Arunachal is really, really, really picturesque. And that has a, when with the bridges coming up now, it is accessible. Some accommodation, which was the problem, that is also now coming up. Camping facilities can be developed. So I think, and where there is nothing you can do, day tours and come back to Assam. You don't really need to stay there.
That's great. Um, in the days of the Raj, the planters used to go on horsebacks to inspect the gardens. So can we give them experiences like that now in these gardens, in the tea gardens now?
Well, as you said in your introduction, we have all been connected with equestrian sports, essentially with equestrian sports. So, which means we are working with horses and stuff like that, and on the sport domain. Having said that, we ran the first international endurance ride in India, which was a FEI event run by an international federation along with the national championships in 2003. That really opened our eyes as to what can be done with horses in tea plantations. And then we started this idea of horse riding holidays. We have by now a full itinerary, a 9-day program of horse riding in tea plantations. We've had, like everything else that we are doing, these are not about big numbers, but we have a fixed departure dates, group size 5 to 6, sometimes 4s. They come every month, and we have one departure a month, and they ride around plantations. They spend about 9 days, and they really seem to enjoy it. Some of these pictures that you are seeing in your screen are from this riding holiday group. sitting down and having lunch in tree houses in the tea plantations and stuff like that. So that's again another interesting idea, and we've in a way started it in Dibrugarh, Tinsukia area.
Um, do you feel that we should have a tea festival here in Assam, like one we have in Nagaland, which is on a fixed date? So something like that in Assam, a tea festival which is on a fixed date every year, so that all the tour operators know about the festival and then promote it.
You see, the director tourism, I think it's a very relevant question, and we couldn't complete that. I think we are short of time. But when director tourism was seeking ideas on what should be done for tea tourism, I think this is exactly what we need to, one of the things that we need to do. We have this wonderful experience of Hornbill in Nagaland. I mean, look at what Hornbill has done to Nagaland tourism, or for that matter, to Northeast tourism. All of us, all tour operators are completely busy for 2 weeks because of one event. It's a big success. The whole world comes to Nagaland, and it has in a way promoted Northeast like nothing else, like no other tourism product did. So the learning from this is you need a hook, you need an anchor around which you can promote a destination, you can promote a product. So a tea festival, I think will have a lot of advantage. And as a private initiative, we started it 4-5 years ago. That was more of a community development initiative, frankly speaking. It was less to do with tourism. But gradually we saw the tourism potential of it. And if it can be upscaled and promoted with other tea related activities built around it, excursions around it, I think it can evolve as a good event which will promote tea tourism, which will promote Assam as a destination. And I think if we are ready with a product, I'm sure government will also support this idea.
That's true. That's true. And another thing that I feel is that when we go abroad, we have museums for everything. But unfortunately in Assam, this is almost a 150-year-old industry, we still don't have a tea museum. So
Yes, we always felt that there is you see, tea museums actually very important. See, museums are important because in tourism, ultimately the key thing is visitor experience, and visits to museums enhance visitor experience. So in absence of museums and institutions like that, your experience somehow remains incomplete. And the good thing is that Assam Tourism is doing a tea museum in Dibrugarh. The work has started, some buildings have come up. We'll have to wait and see what kind of final shape it takes. But I think it is also incumbent on all of us to kind of put some ideas and talk with ATDC and help them to put together a good tourism, a good tea museum, which will enhance visitor experience, capture the history of tea. This I think is a very important thing. We already have an oil museum in Digboy, which captures the discovery of oil. See, this is a very interesting region again, you have discovery of tea, you have discovery of oil, and you also have the history of mining. So the Coal India they have done a coal museum in Lido. Oil have done a tea museum in Digboy, and with the oil museum in Digboy, and with the tea museum coming up in Dibrugarh, I think we can have an interesting, experience, an interesting itinerary.
another thing that I feel is when we talk about tea tourism or tea stays, people think it is only 2 or 3 nights stay in a tea plantation and that's enough. So is it possible that we can make a full fledged itinerary with tea for a longer duration?
It's a very good question. You see, this is what many people ask, and they think that tea tourism is 2-3 days. No, I don't think it's like that at all. You see, it depends on how you position it and where you market it. So there is one element of the tea tourism is 2-3 nights in a plantation, which I agree, and which will perhaps be which will continue to be the starting point of of tea tourism. But we also we know we can also promote it, and we have promoted it as we have put together a full 10-day program, uh, a full 10-day program on tea. So we starts at Dibrugarh, and the tour actually commences from Margarita with the Singpho village of where you find the indigenous meet the indigenous tribes and their organic handmade tea, etc. And that tour culminates in Guwahati with the Guwahati auction, a tour with the Guwahati Tea Auction Center. And now they have a little tea lounge there, which is a beautiful place. I don't know if any one of you have been there or not. There's a very nice tea lounge in the Guwahati Auction Center. So there is a complete 10-day program that we do. I mean, and there are also programs which are connected with Darjeeling and Assam. So I think it can be a full product, a full 12-day to 10-day program. We also need to market it imaginatively beyond the traditional travel trade. For instance, there is a tea museum I did not know until recently in Netherlands, a small tea museum in Netherlands. Now, this tea museum was very keen to do a tea tour, and they tied up with us, and we put together a nice program with them. Unfortunately, it didn't take off because we were supposed to start in March, April, May during the second flush period, and then we got hit by uh, uh, when we got hit by COVID, and so everything is now kind of a standstill now. But tea tourism can be a full-fledged program.
So my final question for this evening to you, what do you feel is really required for tea tourism to really take off in Assam?
I think in one word, promotion. We need to promote. We need to promote imaginatively. We need to promote at B2B level for international markets, which is trade fairs and the B2B market. Now, of course, a few things will change post-COVID. And we need to do B2C for domestic market. So we need to be clear, for inbounds, we need to do a B2B campaign. For the domestic market, we need to do a B2C campaign. And it is with a lot of enterprise, and you could see the bungalows that you showed in your presentation. I think there is some sort of a critical mass of inventory is already on ground. And what we need is promotion, promotion, and promotion. I think that is what is needed to really take off, for the tea tourism to take off.
That's great. Thank you so much. We also have Regional Director, India Tourism West, Mr. Venkateshan here. So I would kindly request him also to share a few of his inputs, because he's a very experienced person. So, sir, can you please?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sudarshan. It was very interesting. I make it a point to kind of come to the Northeast webinars. One is Mr. Devarman knows about my liking for the Northeast, especially. So I've been kind of hearing Mr. Jalan speak. It is really kind of a lot of new information came in. I never knew there were like horse safaris or horse trips in the tea gardens. It's a great product. And he has already said all that is required is promotion, promotion, promotion. That is very true for any destination, especially for destinations that need to kind of come up and sell themselves well. That is, having said that, if you look at Assam's competitive strength lies in its beautiful natural and rural landscape. It is also it's an ancient land, and with this heritage and this great past and the cultural diversity, the cuisines, dance, arts, crafts, festivals, customs, Assam has it all. So there's nothing that it doesn't have. So it is a great tourism product in itself. And if you look at what we can do, it is primarily, we have to match our strengths globally and place ourselves as the most preferred destinations, as he said, not only internationally, now in these current times, and domestically also. And many people from other parts of India, especially far off in south and other things, they really don't know what Assam has to offer primarily. So it is something which can be a great thing. And in fact, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to today's session. For me personally, the tea bungalows have been kind of a fascination. There was this concept of plantation tourism was also there, where people looked at promoting this homestays and the great accommodation units, and not only in tea plantations, but also other plantations like rubber, coffee, etc., which offer a great thing. And tea is something is unique, which is spread across the country, but Northeast is quite predominant. But down south in Uti and in Munnar, where I have kind of experienced this product, so it is good that you brought out the subject, which is out of box, and the listeners were able to have an introduction or a knowledge of what Assam has to offer in terms of tea tourism. As today is the time of promoting niche travel, so this is something which is a strength of Assam. So Assam should try to kind of really build upon it and showcase. So with this, I again thank you for this opportunity and bringing him in here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a few questions from some of the participants today here. So, Mr. Jalan, I would like to read a few questions which have come from a few of the participants here. So the first question is, can we club adventure with tea tour?
You see, the answer is yes. I mean, you can, but depends what adventure it is. You know, I really think that the heart of tea tourism is a cultural experience. And it is not really an adventure. It's not really an adventure tourism product, as we understand. However, if you are looking at soft adventure like kayaking, if you can call that soft adventure, parasailing, etc., Brahmaputra provides a very good, a very good opportunity for such activities where you can do water skiing and all that. But tea garden per se, I would not rate it as an adventure. It will be. I mean, people who are looking for adventure perhaps will not come to tea gardens, except some tea gardens which are located by the mountains, by the river, where you can do rafting, etc. There are some, but by and large, I would say that tea is not an adventure destination in the sense of adventure.
That's true. And also we have another question that has like, can we have a blend of rural tribal location with Kaziranga and Bihu?
I think all of this can be blended. And depends upon how we package it and market it. I think it is possible, and some of it perhaps people are already doing it.
That's true. There is, I think one thing we have to mention, like tea is a very seasonal activity here. Like generally tea season starts from March to November, I guess.
No. Can you? No, it's not. See, the tea growing is seasonal, but the tea tourism can be a 12-month activity. See, in the winter time, of course, it's very good to visit. There may be no harvesting of tea, but the weather is great and a whole lot of other activities that we spoke about can take place. So except the manufacture of tea, but tea tasting, all other activities are going around, and manufacture is only closed for January and February. March we start the factory, and till end of December, till Christmas time, virtually the factories are running. But the whole lot of the whole lot of other activities that are there in November, in January and February, completely makes up for that manufacturer not being there. So I think it's a 12-month, it's a 12-month, it's a 12-month program, and second flush is a very good time to be in Upper Assam, May, when the monsoons have not really come in, and that some of the best teas are being produced, and maybe Kaziranga is also open, so I think that time up till May, middle of May, it's quite a good time.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, if somebody has any questions, they can type in the chat box. We may take 1 or 2 questions before we wind up the session. Also, we had Secretary Tourism, Government of Assam with us, but he had to leave, I think, for some important work. But he was there in the session and was listening to our deliberations. So that is, thank you to him for joining us. If there are no questions, then I would request India Tourism Office, Mr. Mandal, to please give the vote of thanks. Okay, we have one question which has come from Preeti. She's like, how many packs can stay in a bungalow?
Well, that really depends upon the itinerary and which bungalow. I think there are some bungalows which have which have a comparatively larger inventory and may take a group size of 8 to 10. And there are some smaller bungalows which have as low as 2 inventory, so which may be the smallest hotel in the world types. So they have a very interesting range. So, but definitely not large groups. Up to 10, 12, some bungalows will take, but 6, 8 is an ideal size for tea tourism if you're talking about groups. For FITs, of course, there is no issues. There are no problems.
So thank you, Mr. Jalan. It was really wonderful interacting with you. And now I would kindly request Mr. Mandal, Assistant Director, to please give the vote of thanks. You have to unmute yourself, sir. I think there is some problem with the audio, sir.
He's unmuted.
Hello. Hello. Sudarshan. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I am D.K. Mandal, Assistant Director, India Tourism Guwahati. This is my privilege that I have been authorized to give a vote of thanks for today's program. First of all, I would like to thank our ministry who give us an opportunity to organize like this program. I must also thank to our regional director, India Tourism Guwahati, who have nicely briefed about tea tourism in Assam. Thanks also to our Sri Venkatesan, regional director Bombay, who has also suggested about the promotion of tea tourism in India. I must also thank Manoj Jalanji, who is a pioneer of tea industry in Assam. Thanks to Avni Travels, Course and Safari Plus. Lastly, thanks to all the viewers and participants. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all.
তো আপনার মোবাইল বারবার
Thank you, everyone. We'll now close this session and see you again next week, same time, with a new topic on tourism in Northeast India. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ending this
Thank you,
session.
everybody.